As we get you ready for some preseason action, Philadelphia at Jacksonville, some NFL style to help set the tone here. Look good, feel good, play good. Is that right?
That's right.
Hello, Eagles everywhere. I'm Molly Sullivan, joined by our very own franchise, Fran Duffy, analyst, producer, writer, manager, host, the whole shebang, our franchise. Welcome to the show. So happy to be here. Our first assignment of the night, it's a biggie. We both had to select two players that stood out in the first preseason game. And he's making the rookie go first. So here we go. Starting on offense, I'm going to go with Jordan Mailata. And listen, truth be told, I would not have selected him if we had to select that night. But here's why. In the week after, some of the words that he used with me in interviews at his locker after practice, accountable. I want to be more accountable with more focus. My teammates deserve it. I don't want to let them down. So it's his job to protect the quarterback, yes. But if I'm Doug Peterson, Fran, this is such a tremendous sign. He gets it. He takes his role, his responsibility so seriously. And look, 200 miles away from Jacksonville, IMG Academy, where he really showed his potential to the league,
no question.
Right? He just started playing football 2 years ago, not only in the organization, but overall. So he's got a huge upside, and he's only going to get better.
Yeah, I think when you look at Jordan Mailata, a guy that obviously has all the tools, right? And he was a 7th-round pick a year ago. Fast forward to this spring, the team's 1st-round pick, Andre Dillard, also has all the tools, and he put them all on display last Thursday night against Tennessee. You saw quick feet, you saw strong hands, you saw the ability to pick up stunts and be able to see things in pass protection. Really good hand usage from the rookie, which was great to see. You saw him in the run game a little bit as well. I thought you saw a lot of really good things from Andre Dillard. Not a developmental player. This is a guy that, if any other scenario, he'd be playing. I think 31 other teams would love to have an Andre Dillard on the roster. The Eagles, obviously, an embarrassment of riches along the offensive line.
Yeah, you got that right, Fran. And look, Brennan Brooks telling me that Andre's coming into the league with a bang, letting the world know what kind of player he wants to be. He's not soft. He's intense. He's not going to apologize about that. So it's really good to see there. A lot of promise, certainly. Defensive side of the ball. North Philadelphia, born and raised. I will stop. I digress. Sharif Miller. Look, just like I picked Jordan for his performance in the week following Game 1, Sharif and his performance leading up to the game really did it for me. It's the stuff dreams are made of, telling Frankfurt High School, the players who watch practice leading up to the opener, hey, work just as hard in the classroom as you do on the field. And so he showed some in terms of his play. Let's get back to inside the lines. But his play, he showed quickness, his ability to get to the quarterback. Logan Woodside, he got here. There was that roughing the passer. But look, I think he has a big upside as well, so we're going to see more of that, Mr. Journey to the draft.
Yeah, and I think when you go from this year's 4th round pick to last year's 4th round pick in Josh Sweat out of Florida State, this guy showed a lot of promise last year early in the season, and then he goes on injured reserve. So how would he look in his first live action since the fall? Well, I think you saw a guy that's got power. He could defend the run. He's got a high motor. Did a lot of things really, really well. He's not J.J. Watt right now. He's not DeMarcus Lawrence right now. He's got still coming along as a pass rusher, and that's what we saw last Thursday night. Incremental improvement with his hands, the ability to string out multiple moves together as a pass rusher to attack offensive linemen. I liked a lot of what we saw from Josh Sweat. Let's not go overboard with the hype train, though, Molly. I still think he's got a lot of room to improve, but we saw a lot of good things last week.
That explosive first step,
yes.
Certainly one of them. Has he been one of the toughest linemen to block during camp?
He has, and I think if you ask all these offensive linemen on this team, I think he's a guy that obviously has really, really impressed a lot of guys in that locker room.
All right, so right here, right now, we're going to go to Game 2, and our standout player, the Rook's going again. Cody Kessler, we're looking at you. Now, earlier this week, if you caught Inside Training Camp, I mentioned that he's the son of a coach. He's actually the son of coaches. His mother and his father, both coaches, both athletic backgrounds. He's been in the gym since he was 6 months old. So he's been there, done that. It doesn't faze him. He doesn't get rattled. He's used to being the underdog. I just think he's a great story. Forget the stat, 3 of 6. There is no panic. He's got 12 career starts overall, 4 of them with Jacksonville last season. He didn't exactly, Fran, have the weapons that he has now. Same with his time in Cleveland. But you're only as good as your teammates. He has perhaps the most talented team yet. Top priority for Kessler, Fran, eliminate pre-snap penalties. So practice reps increase this week. It will be interesting to see how Cody Kessler responds.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because I thought at the end of practice this week, you really saw the offense really kind of put things together. They were much sharper later in the week than they were really over the last 6, 7, 8 days or so. So that was really good to see from the first and second string offense. I'm going to go with another offensive player. I'm going to go with wide receiver Mac Hollins, a third-year player, missed all of last season with an injury. So how is he going to look coming back? Well, he missed some time earlier this summer with a non-related injury. Really want to see him kind of put things together. There's a receiver spot open at the bottom of this depth chart. The team released Shelton Gibson, a former draft pick, earlier this week. So he was on the roster all 17 games last year. There is a spot available. Mac Hollins, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, you go down the list. Charles Johnson, Mark and Michelle, all these guys, that whole receiver room, they've all got the ability to make plays. Let's see if Mac Hollins is one of those guys that can stand out tonight.
Violation, go Heels. Can I say that, fellow Tar Heel?
We'll allow it,
let
I
it
think,
slide.
for this.
Let it slide. I will be 86th from this. Look, we're going to toss it out to live warm-ups. Ray Doyle, I believe, is behind the camera. No pressure, Ray. What do you got for us in Jacksonville? TIAA Bank Field, a very vowel-heavy but I digress. You typically stress unstressed anyhow. What are you really looking forward to seeing tonight, friend?
Well, we typically do see the starters on defense in the preseason. Jim Schwartz not afraid to play those big players. So you see guys here on the screen. You've got Brandon Graham and the rest of that Eagles defensive line. They showed off some of those things last week. You got after the quarterback a little bit. You're chasing the football down. Excited to see this group, Molly, and I think really the best defensive line in football. I don't think that's out of bounds to say, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Malik Jackson, Derek Barnett, they come at you in waves. Really good depth, a group that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, you've got me convinced with all of your breakdowns, and obviously we saw Carson Wentz. He is in uniform, which is cool to see. The quarterback situation going to be tricky for the month or so, but Nate will be back, and he will be providing quality depth for the Eagles. So there is that as well.
Yeah, and I think when you look at talk about a quarterback, there's the quarterback of the defense there in Malcolm Jenkins, a guy that obviously is revered in that locker room. And really, just looking at the secondary, Molly, a group that is just so competitive. Over the last few years, they've continued to add young, competitive players with great energy, great play personality. You talk about Jalen Mills and Ronald Darby and Sidney Jones and Rasul Douglas, Avonte Maddox and Rodney McLeod, a veteran on the back end. It's a young group. It's a competitive group. They love to come in and battle. It's been a lot of fun, really, to watch that young group come together, because every summer it seems like, oh, this guy's a starter. Now this guy's a starter. This guy can play inside. He can play outside. He's got position versatility across the board. They all kind of fit that same mindset. Malcolm Jenkins, the leader of that group, but really fun just to watch them all kind of come together. And this summer's been no exception. You have Jalen Mills, who's sidelined, Ronald Darby sidelined for most of the summer. You've been able to see some of these young guys really stand out.
Yeah, and with that said, friend, question for you in terms of evaluation. Would it be running backs, O linemen, D linemen? Are they the toughest to evaluate until there is that live hitting, that live action?
Without question. And really, when you're looking at training camp, even on the days where there are live to the ground periods, there's only about 8 plays where they are actually going live, and some of those guys may only be on the field for 2 or 3 reps, so you don't get to see as much. And honestly, I think that's why you see a lot of the defensive players play in preseason games. They've got to worry about tackling. They've got to worry about getting off blocks when the other guys are actually trying to get you on the ground. And so getting that action here this summer in preseason games, it's invaluable.
Yeah, it's one big job interview, right? Yep. Not only for the Eagles, but the 31 other teams.
No question.
So Eagles insider Dave Spadaro, last week, his big storyline, he said, listen, everybody's watching the ball and where the ball goes, who has the ball, but he went into the trenches. That's where the money was at in terms of the edges and the line of scrimmage. That was Dave Spadaro's storyline last week. Now we are going to head out to the sideline with the Eagles insider, Dave Spadaro. What are you looking for tonight, Dave?
Well, Molly, I'm going to follow the football tonight, specifically at the quarterback position. It matters. With Cody Kessler as the starter, how long does he go? Probably the first half. And then the Eagles really want to continue that evaluation of him. We saw Clayton Thorson struggle so much last week. His second time around should be better. The game will slow down just a little bit for Thorson. The Eagles, without Nate Sudfeld, want to make sure that they are in good hands when the September 8th opener against the Washington Redskins rolls around. Sudfeld not likely to be ready at that time, although he could heal faster than expected. That means if he's not ready to go, at this point it would be Cody Kessler, but Kessler needs to step up and put some points on the board tonight. against a Jacksonville defense that will not be playing its starters for the most part.
Dave, thank you very much. Always insightful stuff. And Dave had a long list of players to watch in this game. He would have taken up the whole 30 minutes. So thanks for that, Dave. But do you agree with where he's going there?
No question. You and Dave are really on the same page there. You want to see Cody Kessler really step up in this situation. Does he need to throw for 3 touchdowns and have a 100% completion percentage? No. But just operate the offense. Be efficient. Keep them on schedule. Scoring drive would be nice in the first quarter, but I don't think that we need to see him, light the scoreboard up with points and first downs. And just operate efficiently. That's all you can ask for a backup quarterback. Come in and keep the machine going.
All right. With that said, Merrill Reese, now in his 43rd NFL season. How about that?
Legend,
alongside his partner, Mike Quick. Obviously, they're the best in the game. We're so lucky that they are ours. Gentlemen, what are you looking for tonight?
It's a gray, muggy night in Jacksonville. You could feel the heat all day, and then we had torrential downpours, but they have stopped, and we'll see what happens when it comes game time. Mike, who is your player to watch?
Merrill, if you look at the way this roster is constructed, you have to be concerned about the quarterback position, and Cody Kessler has to be my guy to watch. If the Eagles are going to go into the season with no Nate Sudfeld as the quarterback, they have to know that he can run the offense, that they can rely on him.
Mike, the guy I'm going to zero in on tonight, played well, played encouragingly well last week, but I want to see more of him, and that is number 22, Sidney Jones. Sidney Jones was a high draft pick. They said he could have been a first, but because of injuries, he was available in the second round a couple of years ago. But he has been hampered by injuries, and we haven't seen the great talent that inwardly and outwardly he possesses. So let's zero in on Sidney Jones tonight and see if he can make a big step forward. Okay, Molly, back to you.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Now, earlier in the week, I'm going to put Merrill on the spot here because he did mention that Miles Sanders was making some move and he was becoming more polished in practice. He did have less than a handful of carries in his preseason debut, so big upside there. But Merrill is always front and center at practice. So Sidney Jones and Cody Kessler, 2 of the players that our guys are looking out for, but keep an eye on Miles Sanders perhaps as well, friend.
I know Merrill. Merrill's a Temple guy, but he loves
he
loves his Penn State players. So it wasn't shocking at all to hear Merrill come to support from Miles Sanders, a guy who honestly, to me, had one of his best practices of the year just this past week, and had one explosive run up the middle of the field. It'll be exciting to watch him really continue to get inculcated into that offense.
Yeah, and with that said, we are going to turn over to Ross Tucker, the Eagles preseason analyst. Look, he played injured in his preseason debut. He was chugging, I think, 17 teas with honey and sea salt, the whole shebang. He earned some major street cred, and he got the job done and did it beautifully. He is back in action, and he scored a one-on-one with head coach Doug Peterson moments ago.
All right, guys, here with Eagles head coach Doug Peterson. Coach, week 2, Jacksonville Jaguars. A couple of familiar faces on the other side. Nick Foles, John DeFilippo. How cool will it be to see the guys that help you bring a Super Bowl to Philly?
Yeah, it'll be exciting to go out there, shake their hand, give them a hug, and wish them the best this season. And we're always pulling for guys that we've either worked with or played with, and in this league. And so I'll be excited to see them. Speaking of quarterbacks, Cody Kessler, big night for him tonight. He'll get the start. What are you looking to see from him? I just want to see consistency. I want to see him run the offense, get in there, and just execute. We struggled a little bit last week in the second half with that, and we got to get back on track. And this will it'll be good for him too, kind of coming back home a little bit for him, and he knows these guys, a little bit, so he'll have a good night. On the defensive side of the ball, we got some veterans getting a chance to play a little bit tonight. Malcolm Jenkins, Brandon Graham. What are you hoping to see those guys accomplish tonight? Just get in the football game, get in the flow, get in the rhythm. They're not going to be in there that long, and really just lead the unit, lead the defense over there, and kind of get their feet wet with game action. They've done a great job in practice so far, and would expect nothing less. Speaking of feet wet, with the rain, any different for you game plan wise or anything else? No, we're just going to monitor the weather, and we can't control it, but we just have to go play. All right, thanks, Coach. Good luck. Thank you very much.
Good stuff by Ross, already in mid-season form, I should add.
Yes.
Look, Doug mentioning, I'm going to zoom in on Cody Kessler again, wanting to see consistency in how he executes. What's going to be the key there?
Well, I think it's just playing within your role of the offense. Don't try and play outside of yourself. Just go with where the scheme tells you to go with the football. Keep the offense on schedule. And I thought that it was a really good job by Ross of just kind of connecting the dots there. You see Nick Foles back in town. Let's get back to the quarterback position. You see Cody Kessler here tonight. Let's see what he's got to start the season potentially as the number 2 quarterback.
And then it's really exciting to see some veterans
Yes.
get shaking the rust off tonight as well, which we knew that was going to happen probably in preseason game 2 or 3, but it looks like it's going to be tonight.
Yeah, and really it's all about the fundamentals. You don't see it as much in training camp these days because there's not a lot of full contact. So that's why all these guys, when it comes to positions where you deal with a lot of full contact, this is where you're going to shake the rust off. Make sure that by the time we get to week 1, if the rust isn't all the way off, it's pretty close, and you get to that point where you're fully ready for the real action.
Hey, and one little just tidbit on Ross, because he was at many of our practices.
Yep.
30 years in the making that he's wanted to make his broadcasting debut, and he's made it. It's the stuff dreams are made of. It's a great story. As a reporter, that's cool to see. You know?
Went to Eagles training camp when he was a kid.
Yes.
Doesn't get better than that.
Doesn't get better. Full circle. We love that. Look, if you haven't, speaking of good stories, if you haven't already checked out the latest episode of Unscripted, head over to the Eagles official YouTube channel, youtube.com/Eagles. We're going to give you a peek at what you can expect from this season-long, award-winning program.
This is obviously the mandatory portion. Welcome everybody back. This is the first time we've all been together. These next 3 days are important from a chemistry standpoint, right? We've talked about it all spring, but now these last 3 days, as we wind down the off season, we're really winding up to training camp and the regular season. For these next 3 days, I want you to think about the goals you want to set for yourself individually, as a unit, and then as a team. Because it's all about ownership. It's all about what we do, how we handle our business between now, the break that we have over the summer, and then when we come back July 24th. Start thinking about how you want this season to look, how you want it to go. One day at a time, 1% better each and every day for one common goal. And we all know what that is. We want to get back there again. And let's gear up for another run. It's going to be a special season. We're going to unleash our fury on every opponent we face in 2019. But it's on all of us. It's got to take everybody to get this thing done.
I mean, if that peak doesn't get you excited, I don't know. I'm ready to run through a wall, but Fran says don't do it because I'm a rookie. But, it's, look, it's one common goal. We all know what that is. I thought it was interesting that the background music came low when Coach said, we're going to need everybody to get to that point, which really, you talk about ownership, that's what this team is all about.
I love when we go to Unscripted and you get an inside look at Doug Peterson in those situations because, I think fans and media, they get the exposure during the press conferences and Doug shows off his personality there, but you really see how much of a player's coach he is, how he handles his relationships with those guys. Obviously, that's one standing up in front of 100 in that scenario, but you get a sense of just how deep his connection is with his players.
Yeah, and who has better access than us? So
no
you
question.
want to lock into Unscripted. Look, coming up, an Eagles Entertainment exclusive. Earlier this week, I went one-on-one with Jason Kelsey, sat down with him. We talked about football and fatherhood. He's going to be a father soon. You don't want to miss that. That is coming up next. But look, we're going to end the social media stream at this time. But no worries, because you can head over to PhiladelphiaEagles.com or the Eagles mobile app. We will be there. You don't want to miss this interview. Trust me. Fran saw it. He thinks it's great.
It's worth your while. Make sure you check it out.
All right. So goodbye, social media, but we'll see you on the other side of this break.